reimagine the supply chain with automation. Here to talk about that today is Jonas Swarttouw, VP of Customer and Business Development for North America at NewCold. Welcome, Jonas.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what you see going on in the business of automation in the warehouse right now.
Ooh, it's a good question. I think what a lot of people ask us, because NewCold is one of the companies advancing applying automation in very large scale warehouses. The thing is, what we are dependent on is actually people rethinking their supply chain. Historically, there's a lot of warehouse infrastructure that has formed across the country, which has been built for very different supply chain needs as today. So you see a lot of smaller scale warehouses at locations that made sense in the past, with capabilities that are in general less automated and therefore more challenged to cope with the needs of shippers of products, among others our customers who ship food, to ship more with a shorter lead time and a higher level of accuracy.
So, Jonas, it sounds like there's a need for people to have a look at what they've got and make more use of it effectively in terms of warehouse facilities.
Yes, make more use of it, or rethink whether what they currently have is actually fulfilling their needs. So if you ultimately think about shippers of products, they want to get their products in the right speed, in the right quality to their end user, to the end consumer. And there's often a lot of nodes that are in between. And at every time in the history, choices are made to choose those nodes. If you see that a lot of shippers of products are growing very fast, either due to organic growth or acquisition, increasing their scale, it becomes increasingly difficult for them in their historical chosen network to achieve the efficient flow to their customers. I call that then they come to a moment of rethinking their supply chain, where they say, should we keep working this way? Or knowing what we know now and knowing what our vision is of the future, should we, for instance, look at increasing a plant capacity or building a new plant somewhere or consolidating warehouses in one node? Simplification of networks and supply chains is often a big theme in that.
I would have thought a lot of these kinds of decisions and realizations are being were driven by the COVID epidemic. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, yeah. It's in a way, the COVID epidemic has highlighted a couple of themes that were very prevalent in the supply chain world for a very long time. We talked just now about the shippers of products getting bigger and bigger, and their customers getting more demanding and more demanding, meaning they want stuff to be ordered today, either shipped today or shipped tomorrow, have it in their hands, and have it accurately in their hands. That's a very different dynamic in the supply chain that was there in the past. So what you then see is that companies are looking at ways to restructure their supply chains to better deliver to that. For instance, changing their production, for instance, changing their warehouse, but also seeing how they can collaborate with partners to leverage benefits that they can bring.
I know that there were a lot of warehouse operations that had to make drastic changes and cuts and even close during the epidemic, and obviously automation is something that hives off against that. Do you have an example of a customer that automated just before COVID hit and how that helped them get through the pandemic?
Yeah. How they dodged the bullet,
Dodged the bullet, yes.
Heard a person say. In a way, of course, a labor shortage, the ability to operate your supply chain has been a challenge from before COVID, and it was very much highlighted at the moment that people were sick and couldn't come to work in a manufacturing location or, for instance, a warehouse. If you then think, for instance, in the type of warehouse that NewColds operate, which are highly automated, the amount of people that are working really side by side is very limited. So we were very successful in incorporating procedures to keep people separated and didn't miss 1 second of operation during COVID and kept shipping the goods. The interesting thing is that some of our warehouses actually supply food retail, which was shut down for some part or impacted severely, and food service as well. So for instance, McDonald's and Burger King and those places, they were receiving French fries from one of our warehouses. So you've seen big volatility around COVID under the pressure of people becoming sick and not able to operate. What we've proven to ourselves is that automating warehouses is not only beneficial in terms of providing a higher service level at a lower cost. It's also very resilient in a very dynamic supply chain where crazy things can happen like COVID.
Jonas, what are some of the main challenges in the food supply chain generally that you're seeing today?
I think the main challenges that are there today is indeed driven by those macroeconomic forces. So it's the availability of labor to work in the manufacturing locations, to work in the warehouse, to work in transport, and keeps the goods keep the goods flowing. Volatility makes the labor increasingly challenges them increasingly to do their work in the way that's needed to be done. So there's a lot of inefficiency created by that. And what you then see happening is that people cannot deliver anymore to what's expected of them, and which ultimately is ship those goods from production to the endpoint. So it's not that those people are doing a poor job, it's just what being asked of them is increasingly being raised.
So Jonas, what is the solution?
Yeah, so we are a believer of enabling the people in the warehouse operations that we run with technology that enables them to outperform. So we're not saying you have to replace people with technology, although in reality is you make decisions to automate certain processes. But by doing that, you really make the people that are there in those operations even more powerful and important, because they run the systems that ultimately provide the service.
That's great, Jonas. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about NewCold and what you do?
Yeah. So NewCold is a logistics service provider focused on the largest food companies in the world in helping them optimize their supply chain via providing automated warehousing solutions at strategic points in their supply chain. And then with that, creating centers of gravity by building those warehouses and operating them for multiple customers and enabling them to benefit of synergies in transport between those companies. So truly delivering an end-to-end supply chain solution.
Thank you so much, Jonas, for joining us today.
Thank you.
We've been talking about reimagining the supply chain with automation with Jonas Swarttouw from NewCold. Thank you for watching.